Hello, friends. Well, I rarely look far ahead, really, because I like to keep it interesting to say for myself. I like to know what's ahead for the next few months, but I usually don't go beyond that. I think it is not necessary, it's more of a distraction usually. Anyway, I guess it's the first time I'm also really excited to look a little bit further ahead because it's seems yeah, we're not quite out of the intensest phases, but it will get seriously better over the next 4 months, and I will tell you why and how. But by the end of January, mid-February, keep that date in mind. That's the next big frame. Takes a little while to get there, and I said it, what's coming the next few months will be probably the most difficult phase we could imagine. So just be prepared. That's all I can say. It will be worth it. We are on the best possible timeline. Well, that might sound assumptive or even really utopist or whatever you want to call it. But it is seemingly, many have said it, who are in that psychic dimension of giving us higher knowledge. We are doing better than we were expected. We are doing far better as a humanity. We have pushed the frequency band into unknown territory. That's where we are really at. That's why things get chaotic. And it is my understanding that even though that always has been an option and been in the waiting room as probably the second best option, there could have been arrests or big pushes from top down in that sense quite a while ago, but it was kind of pushed back because it seemed less and less necessary to go that route. And that's a great blessing in the end, but it takes a little longer to get there. And if I probably would have looked ahead seriously, I could have told you that about would be the timeline. I wanted to keep it interesting for myself. That's why I didn't. So anyway, I discovered this along the way. The perihelion charts and the aphelion charts of Earth are extremely important. These are the two moments when Earth is at an extreme relationship with the Sun, and only with the Sun. There's no third body involved. Keep this also in mind. That's very important, because all other astrological alignments are always a triangulation of three. You have the Earth, and you have the reference of the Sun and the Moon, which then are, for example, opposing each other or appearing in the same place in the sky. But this is always only a reflection of a third party of that place where we are observing this or watching it. So the moment when Earth on its yearly orbit is farthest from the Sun is when the forces of centrifugal escape are equal to the forces of gravitation which pull the Earth towards the Sun. And this is for half the cycle, the forces of centrifugal escape are greater, and then for the other half, when the Earth has reached that place, the point of farthest distance, from then on forward, the gravitational forces are stronger. So this is a radical shift in basic momentum, in a way, of Earth as a planet, as a body, as a consciousness, Gaia, whatever you call it. So this is the moments when the relationship will be redefined of Earth with the Sun, and the Sun being the representative of life force and of divinity in its most physical manifestation. That's why in all old cultures, some people call primitive cultures, which is really extremely arrogant. Anyway, just this as a comment on that. But these old cultures were worshipping the sun. And you can find that as far back as you're gonna, as it's possible to go back through history. Ra is the representative of the sun. So the sun is the higher self, if you want to say it that way. And Earth, we are down here as the manifesting end of that energy. And okay, now let me get back to this, because this is really a powerful chart. This is January the 4th, 2022. That is when Earth will be farthest away on this present journey from where it was farthest away. Actually, yeah, I'm saying it wrong. I'm sometimes having this dyslexia. Sorry about that. So in July, on the 5th of July, just a few months ago, Earth was farthest away from the sun. But now it's on its path, getting closer and closer and closer to that moment when it's closest to the sun, which will be January 4th, 2022. Okay. So I discussed the July 5 chart in an earlier video. You will find that if you're interested. It's very telling and very powerful too. Now, this chart has the galactic center rising, and this already should make you get more into high energy mode. Really, that's what it is. Whenever the galactic center is involved, there's a surplus of energy from a higher dimension coming in at 27 and 10 minutes here. It's not here marked, but it's at 27:10 here in Sagittarius. That's where the present position is of the galactic center. The galactic center is the central sun. It is the core of our galaxy, and we are about 26,000 light years away from that core, and out on one of the spiral arms of the galaxy. So the galaxy is huge, 100,000 light years across approximately. All the stars we can see in our night skies are part of our galaxy. Consider that. That's very important. The only object you can see from another farther reality is Andromeda Galaxy. Andromeda Galaxy is a faint nebula. When you know where to look, you will find it. That's all we can see from our neighboring galaxy. And all the other stars are mostly within close range of our solar system, out in that spiral arm, kind of a little less populated it is out there. So the stars we can see with our bare eyes are usually in the range of 10 to 400 or 700 light years. Kind of that's the big bulk And actually the stars which are really bright, like Regulus, I guess Regulus is something like 8 light years away. So you get the picture, or the Big Dipper, for example, all these stars which are circumpolar in the northern hemisphere, which we can see in all 4 seasons. These stars are anywhere between 40 and a few hundred light years distant from Earth. So it just gives you the perspective, so how important the galactic center really is. Okay, so the galactic center rising here in Greenwich, and on the 0 meridian we have Haumea and Elatus. This is very meaningful, and then there is Hygeia, and then there is Rhadamanthus. So Haumea and Elatus are the closest, and Haumea is in a very powerful placement here. Now let me say a few things about Haumea. Haumea was found, I guess, 2005, was called Santa first, and there's a particularly powerful story about how Haumea was discovered. It was actually discovered by an astronomer who had kept the information for months private on his personal internet library, and then seemingly these files were accessed and stolen, and somebody plagiarized in Spain to have seen that object first. So it's quite an intrinsic story in itself, which shows how the seed can be become a stepping stone, or a jumping board, to find a way more complex reality than you would have expected. So Haumea is named after a Hawaiian goddess of creation. She works with fire, and this is original creation, and this is highly dynamic. Haumea is a new force, came, as I say, was brought into consciousness, into the level of our accessibility in 2005. It's pretty new, and it's fiery and wild, and in a way untamable. It's the fire of creation. In the last minutes of a Libra here, that means it's a very powerful spot, and this is hexagram 50. If we go into the overlay of hexagrams, which always gives a great insight, 50 is the cauldron. So there's lots of potential coming down. Elatus is the ability to put something in words and translate it and express it. Elatus is extremely gifted with elaborating on reality through language. It is a particularity here of Earth's position in space, that it's when Earth is farthest away. Now I said wrong again. When Earth is closest to the Sun, which is in January. When Earth is closest to the Sun, then the Sun is in Capricorn, in the central degrees, anywhere from 10 to about 14 degrees in this range. And it's every year a little different. It's a chaotic motion. It's not perfectly 182 and a half days as one would expect. It's there's all these turbulences and other celestial bodies. The moon has an influence. So it's overall it's a chaotic motion. So it's every if you look up the list, you can look it up on the internet. The aphelion and perihelion timing of Earth. So what I want to say, it's always in these degrees, around 13, 14, here it will be in January 2022, and Earth is on the other side, naturally, when the Sun appears in Capricorn, then the Earth is in Cancer. This in itself is a very, very powerful allegory in itself, that the Sun's energy, which astrology says is our being, is reflected by the Sun, has to be brought down to Earth to be planted, and the best way to do that is through the opposite sign. So with the Earth with the Sun in Capricorn, it is the nurturing principle to bring all that higher crystallization of Capricorn and plant it firmly and give care and connect to our ancestors. That's other really big central theme of Cancer, the sign of our sources. So what stands out in this chart, aside from the galactic center and Haumea and Elatus here in the center of the sky, together with Hygeia, naturally, Hygeia, health, well-being, in the right place at the right time, very high up in the sky, in Scorpio. Scorpio, the sign of rebirth, of transformation. Radamanthus is here too. Radamanthus is justice and righteousness, doing things in the right way and going according to the prescribed steps to arrive at destined place. By the book, very important. That's why it takes a little longer. But Radamanthus was put in charge by, Radamanthus was a king in ancient India, in pre-Vedic India. And Radamanthus was such a good king, so righteous and just, that after he passed, he was put in charge of judging over the dead. Now I guess I mixed the two myths up here a little bit. Sorry about that. So it's actually Radamanthus, I guess, is a Greek one. I'm mixing it up with Varuna. Varuna has a very similar character. Varuna is actually the one who is based in the Vedic and the pre-Vedic tradition. But there's very similar characters, and interestingly enough, they are in a perfect square. And this square aspect has been on already for quite a few years. You see, on that level, I often because there's so many of them, so I usually focus on a few of them at a time. But all these are very slow-moving objects. For example, in the range of 200, 300 or more years around the Sun. So when they form aspects, these aspects are in place for a long time, usually for 5 up to 20 years or longer. So these are generational aspects, and these are processes which are slowly becoming more visible. And some of them have been going on for a few years. Some of them have just recently kicked in, and some of them are just still going into the mid 2030s or beyond. So these are really huge developments in a way. And these are all new energies which are coming in, as I kind of gave you a bit of a basic insight about in my previous video. Just the one prior to this, if you go to my channel. So, you see how much is going on here in these 2 or 3 first signs here close to the ascendant: Capricorn, Aquarius and Pisces. Mostly Aquarius. It's a little hard to see, but Saturn and all those planets here to Mercury. Actually, it's not all that many. It's Mercury, the Moon, and Saturn. Right, okay. It's really a bit hard to read here, the chart. But the Moon is in Aquarius, Saturn, and Mercury. And they are the leaders, in a way, of this big group of planets. They are at the front end of the train. They're the locomotors, you could call them. Most of all, Jupiter here at the first degree of Pisces. So Jupiter, and then naturally, if we include these two as well, we have Pallas and Neptune. Neptune, all powerful, still here in a T-square aspect with the ascendant. So the fog is slowly lifting. It's not happening overnight. I mean, again, to come back what I said before, it has to do with allowing things to naturally seep out. It's an osmosis. It's like a cell of a different density within another medium, and these two have to that cell kind of has to get to the same potential. It has to become absolutely balanced before the membrane can fully be removed. I guess you get the picture. So if you poke the membrane, then this will create temporary chaos. It might result in the same final situation, but the process to get to is very different. So this might explain why it's so important to wait it out and to allow for this process to grow organic from A to B. So we don't want to interfere too much. It's a natural process, and it's well underway. So yeah, Neptune still is kind of at the lead of the whole group here. But it is lots of Capricorn energy first. Venus and Juno here, together with the part of fortune and the Sun in that great stellium. In a wide conjunction with Quaoar, which is original ideas, new way of thinking. Think of Albert Einstein. He's a perfect representative of Quaoar's energy. Quaoar and Sedna, actually both are very important in his chart. Quaoar, okay, that original thought. Then Hilonome here with Juno and Venus, the equatorial point, and Pluto. I really would almost have to include them all. This is a huge energy combination, and with the Sun and Venus and Mercury in here, all this is getting anchored in our personal fields. That's what the inner planets are, our personal planets. When we receive energy through them, then we can anchor some higher dimensions and give them shape and form in our physical creations and in our mental understanding. Juno is partnership and teamwork, very important asteroid. It has been one of the key drivers of the American Revolution. We see going in their base chart, we have a Juno Chiron opposition. This is Chiron here in the chart. So Juno Chiron, it is kind of that awakening to a collective oneness, to understand that we are different pillars holding up a big structure, and if we can just be each of us a pillar and be in that concept of working together, that is what will give that inner strength which is necessary to push off all the lower frequency bands we are out to eliminate from this planet. So anyway, it's very Aquarian, Pisces. In Aquarian, most certainly in a more refined way than we see here in the last 12 to 16 months. I guess we go through a big upgrade here. Aquarius, naturally, also all the extremism and the pushing towards AI and turning us into robots, all that stuff. A very, very Aquarian shadow that is. Jupiter in this powerful first degrees of Pisces, hexagram 55, abundance. The Sun at fullness, the days, the hours of the midday, that's an enormous abundance of energy here in that first degrees of Pisces. At the cusp of the second house. So this prompts me to say, yes, next year will be financial a breakthrough for everyone. It will be that long-awaited year when that is likely to happen as a natural consequence of the dark forces being detained, because before that is the case, that wouldn't be really shooting in our own leg. It would be abused. Before that can be released, yes, we have to make sure there's no abuse possible. That is probably the most simple explanation why, again, we have also to wait for that to happen. However, there is safeguards in place. There is people who have put networks together of support for people who have a difficult time in the next few months. They have to take the natural consequence and untie from the system, even though this will result in financial difficulties. There will be help for these people. If you reach out and inform yourself, you will find out, or probably you know already. Romana has been one of those. Romana Di Dulo has been promoting all these networks of support through Canada and the United States both. There's food support groups, for example, where people can donate and demand food. Or it is quite amazing to see that it's now reaching that level where the two ends meet, the military intelligence from above and the grassroots movements which are already there, and these two connecting, that is really taking the power out of the dark forces, because we can safely step out of the system without being crushed. That's basically what it is, because they have lost power anyway. So this is really the chart of that half year between January and July 2022. It will be on a much lighter note. As I say, I expect the big breakthrough by the end of January till mid-February. That is the window you can expect for EBS and whatnot, which has been talked about for a long time. And only naturally after that, probably May, June, around that. I'm guessing now. The financial breakthrough will come with HARA and HARA and such. But what really is making the difference in the next few months is the lunar nodes. And I hinted at that in my last video at the end. I was kind of wanting to show you more of that, because this is such a powerful position the lunar nodes have in right now. And I show you why. This is the reason. Okay, here we go. So this energy connection between hexagram 20 and hexagram 34, this is the electromagnetic wiring of our collective energy body right now on this planet, and this is on between September 4 and January 18. This is a long stretch of powerful connection between sacral and throat. And this is one of what's called the integration channels. There's this network you see of 4 different gates here in the original human design wiring. These 4 channels make 6 different channels. There's many combinations possible. So this is this is actually the most central one of them all, the one between the sacral and the throat, which is direct manifestation. That's what it really means. So we are in a powerful few months where we can directly manifest from our sacral power. '34. Let's go back here. Actually, I should show you here quickly, those of you who are not yet familiar with where to find that. That's on my old website. Let me see. Here, I guess I have it, right? Yeah. So, I don't know if you can see it here, the cosmoswithin.org, and then it's Zodiac and I Ching. There you can find that graph. So this is according to the teachings of the Human Design System, and this is powerful information. For those of you who are not familiar with it, again, I have the kind of breakdown on my website, and here is all the degrees, the exact degrees, and then I also go into each of them, the line movements, which tells you what the natural evolution is of that degree, and there's 384 different possibilities, 64 times 6. So anyway, the 2 hexagrams I'm talking about is hexagram 20, contemplation, and hexagram 34, the power of the great. And that's one of the few times in that arrangement, which is quite interesting overall. In that arrangement of the 64 hexagrams, you see there is, as I showed you here on this graph, let's go back to it here. That is the original wiring of the human genome, you could say, of the energetic genome. The 64 combinations. And interesting that, yes, in the discovery of the DNA was discovered that there's 64 different combinations of these segments of aminonucleic acids, the basic ones, the 4. They always come in groups of 6. That was the discovery. The codons contain 6 different pairs, which directly links into the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Changes, which is thousands and thousands of years old. At least 5,000, likely much, much older than that. So these 64 hexagrams are overlaid over the zodiac, and then each of these oracles has a particular spot in within the electromagnetic wiring of our genome, you could say. And at any time in present past, certain frequency gates are activated, and naturally in our birth charts we then get a particular set of those. And this again here, what we look at is just the present moment. It's actually here timed for September the 7th, and it shows you where the planets were at this time in the different hexagrams. But again, I'm just focusing here on the 2 lunar nodes which entered that configuration on September the 4th all the way into January 18. And I mentioned that we have entered a higher frequency band. It's really tangible. I think everybody can feel that almost. It's we're getting there. One can feel something is forming. It's still not fully visible. The next few weeks will be wild, to say the least, as the pressure and the last try, you could call it, of pinning us down as a humanity, and naturally they unleash all the resource they still have. We knew this was coming in this timeline of allowing things to take place. And believe me or not, this will be totally paying out. It's such an easier transition. I mean, this is a war. We all know that. It's not really. It's obvious. Anybody who is debating that is really not up to date. Anyway, so this is the chart of the ingress of the nodes into these 2 hexagrams, and I guess this chart in itself is a powerhouse. With that 1st degree Taurus rising. Taurus, the sign of manifestation, of making something physical, literal, tangible. And it's so beautiful with Uranus in here, that higher principle of Aquarius getting fully incarnated and fully accessible on the material level. In that sense, it's the coming down of these higher frequencies and forming. And one of the ways this will express, as I predicted, is free energy. That free energy devices will be available by the end of this 7-year period, which is roughly 2018 to 2025. So this is just getting started next year. But what this chart really means is, yes, that Aquarian spirit is becoming visible in a it's not just an idea anymore. It's a coming together, and Jupiter and Saturn here both in the 11th house. That's beautiful, in Aquarius. It's kind of this conjunction, this big new beginning we had last winter solstice is slowly now coming to age. They're slowly, you see, they come out of a new moon phase in that sense, and the first 2 days you can't see the moon, you know that, it takes about 3 days, so there has to be that kind of opening of the angle for the energies to become fully manifest, and that's what's about starting to happen in this particular cycle of Saturn and Jupiter. So let me just see what else I want to throw in here. Yes, Celeres and Chariklo, naturally Chariklo, the other really big one right now, and I should say, just go to that next chart. Well, there's too many charts here, but this one is the one I want to put some focus on to end this session. On the 6th of September, Chariklo moved back into Capricorn. Now, what does that mean? Chariklo is Chiron's wife. She's one of the few female centaurs. She represents birthing. She's the midwife. She's bringing higher energies down into the physical. She's the one who cares and nurtures. And this is in a way similar to Ceres, but Chariklo is way more the spiritual component of that. So Chariklo has been here in Aquarius the last 6 months approximately. First time after, because Chariklo is again a slow-moving planet, probably taking a decade or longer in each sign. Having tapped here into the Aquarian spirit, has put many new possibilities onto our table. However, now on the 6th, Chariklo has gone back for one last loop into Capricorn, kind of to finish what unfinished business it had left behind itself. And this is part of the reason I also said this would be a difficult time. It would be a time of tying up many, many loose ends over the next few months on a more structural, deeper level within society. It has to do with this process of untying from the system, of cutting cords. Those of you who are not familiar with that thought, research it. Cord cutting, very important psychological process of finishing contracts and taking back our sovereignty, very important. So this is characterized by Chiron rising here. Yes, it's biting through. That's the hexagram here, which is between 9:30 and 15 degrees of Aries, where this ascendant is with Chiron in it. Yes, Chiron is in that biting through phase, very, very real, as I have pointed out several times over the last few months. This is the phase of touchdown, really. I mean, I could say so many more things about this chart alone with Quaoar and Pholus up high. Pholus, the one who always appears in moments when we finally have arrived at that decision to stop smoking, to quit drinking, to get out of the abusive relationship, or whatever it is. Pholus is the one who finally draws the line. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. I could keep going on, as you know me. But again, thanks for joining and listening. Okay, till next time.